So we'll do whakatakatiho opening.
Oh. Stop it, that was fine. I'm not there, it doesn't matter.
But I've got some bags. So.
Yeah. One of them told me that last time they went on the food, they quick.
Nice. I haven't been on the ferry for years. But the last time they got sick. I was like, this is great.
I can't do anything, I'm just gonna sit there. I'm not up to anybody from you. He's right. All right. We're good to go, Keith? Awesome, all right. All right. Okay, welcome everyone to the November Golden Bay Community Board meeting. I will pass over to Kim and Robert for our clarity here today.
Kia tātou, whakatakatiho ki te uru, whakatakatiho ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tā, ihi aki ana, ki atakura, ki tio, ki huka, ki hohu, tihe, Māori ora.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Robert. Thank you everyone for coming. Just a couple of quick things before we get into it. I have a presentation to make. To Grant, on behalf of the community board.
Oh.
Welcome your new little person. I can pop it back on the table over there. It's going to be.
So yeah, that probably does, but suits very well. Her name is another qualifier.
Perfect.
So
That's what we thought. So this is to us.
we can thank you.
And I'm a little bit biased, but she's very cute and she likes me. So I got smiles, so please. So congratulations.
Thank you.
She is beautiful.
Actually chose the call file before hearing the name.
Did actually, the way we talked about what we
Wow.
were.
Qualifier is definitely,
Mm.
it was flowering prolifically when at the time she was born, so it was unobvious. We could make up our mind if we wanted either name, so we just hyphenated it.
It's a beautiful name.
Only 4 syllables.
You restrained yourself there.
Yeah.
I'd also like to acknowledge that this will be Jess's last meeting, and I feel like I've acknowledged it before, but this will be it for Jess. So again, Jess, I'm so very grateful to you and the level of service that you have provided the board. And because I thought December was your last meeting, you'll have to pop in for 5 minutes in the December meeting for the same speech, a little bit longer. But yeah, truly grateful, Jess, and you will be missed. And you'll, but we're lucky that Gavin will be stepping in. So big shoes to fill, Gavin. But yeah, truly grateful, Jess. So thank you very much. Right, that's enough of the mushies. We'll go into apologies. Do we have any apologies or leave of absences today? Kim, I know you need to go at 2:45.
2:45.
All right, anyone else on the time? Perfect. All right, I'm happy to accept those.
Yep.
Seconded by Grant on those. Great, lovely. Okay, moving into public forum. So we have 30 minutes of public forum with our speakers allocated 5 minutes each. Speakers must be respectful, avoid repetition and criticism of elected members of staff, and avoid speaking on matters that are subject to legal proceedings. So first I've got Liz and Carol, is that right? Perfect.
So we thought we had 10 minutes.
Oh, for your presentation, your organisation, yes. And you coming up here, great.
It's me, here we go.
Not at all.
Where's the one that's there?
Wherever you like, would you like to sit at the table or you prefer to stand?
It'd probably be nice if we were visible. Should we, do you want to come here?
Fine. No, mine are in the purse. Actually, there's someone just handed me that purse. It's sitting on the floor there. Yeah, I can see the miles, I just can't see what's in front of me. So they took the sight away and gave me long sight. It was very exciting. You want me to start, Liz? Sure. And then we'll stick you into yours, right? Yeah. Okay. Right, I just thought I'd say SPCA, as it has been a Golden Bay for a long time. My earliest memories of SPCA dates back to the 1950s, and that was an advertisement in the Nelson Evening Mail every week. And it was a Mr. Colville was the only name attached to it at that time, and I would think he would have been the only one. But it's continued on through the years, and it's growing to be more formal, handling small animals. We have a small list of people to go to for birds, etc. So if you need some help with that sort of thing. Demand for help with dogs is very rarely needed now. It's much different to the 18 or 1990 and 1980 and 1990 era. It was a nightmare actually. And main work is with cat adoptions. When applying to adopt a cat or a kitten, you're required to fill in an application form. This helps for us to know if the house is suitable and if a rental, it's been verified by the owner. All cats are suitable for rehoming are kept in a shelter at East Tarketta until a home is found. We have 3 units and a small isolation unit at our shelter at my home. At this point in time, we have a committee of 11. Around 2017, head office decided to go for a one SPCA, and all funds were going to be held in Auckland. And our question was, what would happen to small branches like ours? And that was a question they couldn't answer. So in November of 2017, we left the SPCA and became Golden Bay Animal Welfare, thus keeping all our money and all our right in Golden Bay. And I'm very pleased that we did, because the question we asked them has been answered time and time again with little branches like ours being closed down. If there's, say, 3 branches and there's a 2-hour drive between them, they usually shut one down. I presume they're selling the assets that those branches have had. Westport had a really good asset, and I was pleading with the lady there, don't go with SPCA, but she did. And now the coast, I think they have to travel from Westport to Hokitika to hand and surrender animals and things now. So we're very lucky that we stayed as we are, and in my opinion, we're doing better than we've ever done. And the public support in Golden Bay, of course, is marvellous. So we didn't want that support to be taken out of the bay. We also do spaying and neutering, free, and I'll leave it up to Liz to explain to you just how she's organising that.
So we thought it would just be timely to bring you up to date with who we are and what we do. And we have changed over the years. Carol is our secret weapon. She forgets nothing and nobody, and she knows everything that's going on in the bay. And she's very, very good at finding homes for cats that might otherwise be challenging to rehome. So I've only been with animal welfare for, I think, 7 years now. And I've seen changes that we've implemented because we needed to. And so a lot of our focus, out of a sense of responsibility, has turned to offering free desexing campaigns in the community. And we have a a good network of organizations that we can apply for funding without, I guess, overstaying our welcome. So the organizations that have assisted us financially with both desexing and microchipping, because we're very focused on microchipping as well, is TDC, the Community Board, Ministry's discretionary fund within the lottery grants. I've managed to get 15,000 from them over the years. We have Kuku Hydro Society, New Zealand Companion Animal Trust, Top of the South Community Trust, and Network Tasman. So there are big funders. And then we have the support of the Royal Service Centre vets, who, when we have our DSEX days, actually offer us a reasonable price. And we just, the whole day is used for the animals that have come forward in the community that need desexing. And so we're supported by them. We're supported through the donation jars we have scattered all over the bay. We are supported through Lions Club, Trash Palace, fundraising stalls and raffles that we run a couple times a year. Furball at the Roots Bar. Holly is very committed to furballs and individual donors. And so we are grateful to be financially healthy and also to have a really good, committed team that all come with different and supporting skills so that we work well together. I thought I would just focus a bit on the desexing and microchipping. So we became more focused on that in 2019. And in that time, we have nurtured 42 males and spayed 41 females. And the thing that keeps frustrating us is that people don't understand that a female kitten can actually become pregnant in 4 months. And so every single desex campaign in the spring, we have people turning up who want their female desexed, and oops, she's already pregnant, and how could that be possible? And then, of course, I think last year we had 52 kittens that were born because of that lack of knowledge. And they somehow had to be reformed in a very small catchment, and it's just completely unsustainable. So all our kittens that we rehome are given a % voucher for the vets, so they're supported that way. And we often hear of cases in the community where we think, well, either we get involved now or the mess is going to get even bigger. And so we'll pay 100% if we need to get to the bottom of that. Some of the bigger projects we've worked on is that barn full of cats out towards Heafy. We're deeply concerned about the consequences of that. It's been very difficult to get permission because it's private land. The wife was willing to work with us, and so I think we probably managed to desex half of them. Okay, it all helps. And we also were allowed to take the kittens that we had. And we also did the same with the Solly's yard, where they had about 7 cats, and I think 3 of them were tomcats, complete tomcats, and we solved that problem as far as I know. All of them either got euthanized or desexed. So I will be honest and say that we euthanize if we trap a feral adult. And we also euthanize if we're unable to make a cat well, but we will bust a boiler with the vets to save life. But we're not adverse to euthanizing for the sake of the animal. So lastly, I'd like to say that we fully support, as an organisation, the bylaw that TDC is dipping their toes in the water about. We would love to see desexing be mandatory and microchipping be mandatory. I think the consequences of not doing that continue to be obvious, and there's only so much we can do as a small committee. And I feel for the animals. So the last story I'll tell you is just recent. where a farmer out on, just off of Packard Road, was it?
Mm.
He moved a disused trough, and when he got it to where he was going to put it, he discovered 6 newborn kittens in it from a feral cat. So of course, that poor mum has come back and discovered she no longer has a family. But we now have those kittens that are being bottle fed every 2 hours.
Drip feeding, so, yeah.
But, you know, there's a huge issue with white kittens around Packard Road, and we get them every year, and we can't find the parents. But we adopt out the kittens, and they make lovely pets. Yeah. So whatever time we have left, we thought we would ask if we have any questions.
So there's no SPCA in the bay.
We work the
Is that-
same as we always do.
Yeah. But if there's a cruelty or a misuse or a neglect of say a horse or a farm animal or any other animal, who do we call? Okay,
Nelson SPA inspectors come over here.
but on your recommendation,
Yes.
and it's probably.
They can legally do it, but we have to go and they won't come unless they have photographs of whatever neglect is being reported. And we've had really good success.
Yes.
Yeah. We've dealt with some really
We have,
heartbreaking issues.
we have trained inspectors here, but it's hard to keep them here.
Yeah.
Often they move on and it's not really a very good valley to be an inspector in either.
Yeah.
So it's better that the help actually comes from outside the bay in those circumstances.
Yeah, thank you. And one more question is, what else would you like to see in the future of the bylaw? It's only a 5-year, we've got a 5-year bylaw. It's a new bylaw with what you asked for, which is, desexing and microchipping. What else could go?
Sorry,
into the
Grant,
bylaw?
I'm just going to stop you there because we are still a public forum. We can only ask questions for clarification,
Yeah,
not entering into it. Yeah, but not, I could see, it's a great question, but I could see it going into it rather on discussions. An idea to rebook you or have a session with them when we start to do our gathering information for our public submission.
I would just say it would be lovely to have, it's good to have the law, but it needs to be enforced. And how in the world you're going to do that? I have no idea.
That's a very good question. So
Yeah.
thank you. Unless anyone else has any questions for
I
clarification.
just got a quick question. With the Tom cats sold these out, did you re-release them? Do you use that sort of method where you leave the cats that are like
Because
in their territory?
they are considered to be old cats by
Right.
Solis.
Okay.
Merv likes them to be catching rats and
Yeah,
mice.
yeah,
So they chose to euthanize.
Yeah.
We euthanized a couple of the Toms from
Yeah.
memory. And they left a couple, so they've all been desexed.
Yeah.
And we didn't waste money on microchipping. They had their ears.
Yeah.
Clipped so that we know they've been done.
Great that you, it sounds like you've got the money that you need to do the things you have to do or want to do. Is that right? You have enough?
It's because I keep writing.
Yeah.
Grant applications.
Yeah. You don't end up in positions where there are things you'd like to be doing and paying for and you don't have the funds. Pretty set.
What we use that. I suppose you always need more funds, but probably what we need at the moment is somewhere to put their shelters in the future.
Yeah.
I've been at my place a long time, and that's fine. But there'll be a day when I won't be at my place. It really needs to be sorted.
Yeah. So that will be the issue when we need to move.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Lisa, and we'll definitely, as Grant said, be having conversations with you. Thank you. When it comes from cats to dogs, I think. Katie.
Raining.
Actually at the chair of our new organisation and I'm a secretary. So
Sure.
we can switch that around, sorry.
Sure. No, that's not a problem.
Paperwork there.
All right, I'll scribble out your name and write the game. Say that. Fine.
Write a name, tell them.
Yeah, just scribbled you out.
Sorry, Jess.
Hi there, my name's Gay Hamilton. I probably know most of you anyway. And I'm the chair of Dog Owners Golden Bay. We've had a slight name change. So we're now Dog Beagle, Dog Owners Golden Bay.
Clever.
Clever. Easier to roll off the tongue. Our group was started out of frustration and concern. I and many others participated in the initial TDC online survey about how we felt the current dog bylaw rules were working and what needed to change. I checked at the end of the submission period and saw some suggestions for changes. Others didn't want any dogs on beaches, but on the whole, the feedback was resoundingly positive about the old rules, with a good 90% saying that not much change was needed. So when the new proposals came out, everyone was horrified. It was a massive, massive overkill. And there were lots of comments on Facebook about how there was no point submitting as the council would do what they wanted anyway. Now that really upset me as I'm a big democracy person. And when people feel disenfranchised and disconnected, that's when societies begin to break down, in my opinion. I was also aware of what's been happening over the hill, where neighbours pitted against neighbour, and it's become quite unpleasant with people harassing local dog walkers going about their day. Also, with our local wildlife group illegally blocking areas with rocks in Collingwood and Milnthorpe, outraging local residents. So that kind of discontent was starting to happen here, which I didn't think was good at all. So I thought the only way we were going to be heard is if we're banded together. So I put a post on the community notice board to see if there are any others as concerned as I was, and wham, we had a huge response. So we've gone on from there. So this is just basically to tell you what we're doing. And where we've come from. It's very much a collaborative thing. I created the Facebook page and got everyone to post their concerns and solutions about the areas that they know well. While I travel around a lot as part of my job, I don't know everywhere well. But the members of Dogby do. They know their areas well. So that's how we built our group submission. It's all about local knowledge and what's best for the wildlife, humans and pets within. So that was just the start. A vast amount of Golden Bay is dock managed anyway and is already out of bounds for dogs. There are very few public areas where we can take them. The TDC recently did a bird survey, and the upshot of which is great. There are a lot of birds living. And they also note that there is absolutely no proof that birds and wildlife are at risk at all, let alone from dogs. The bird survey recommended that it be repeated in 1 to 2 years, and we totally agree. We don't think there's a problem here. There's no proof that there is. So why doesn't the TDC wait to find out scientifically and conclusively if there is a problem at all? This seems logical to me and our group, and we hope the TDC also sees that logic. Beyond the submission, our group has 2 focuses, advocacy and community. The advocacy role has grown from the submission. We're setting up an incorporated society. We've got a wide range of people within our group and with a wide range of knowledge and skills in both the canine and community aspects. We feel that our expertise should be drawn on, not ignored, as we are a resource and should be seen by you, the board and the TDC as such. The community side of things is my pet project. Dogs are wonderful things. People can be quite isolated for many reasons, physically or socially. Maybe things aren't going well for them, or they're getting older and can no longer get out and about like they did. But they've got their dog, and their dog gives them their focus away from their troubles. And that's how I operate as well. I am out walking my dogs every day, 7:30, rain or shine. It gets me up and out. I get out and see and talk to people. I get some air and exercise, and I clean the beach while I walk. Every single day, I start with a smile. In the past, I have participated with dog training groups in Hope Domain, and I'd love some of those events to be able to be available here. Within our group, we have the skills to start that. Both dogs and humans need mental stimulation as well as physical. So everyone will hugely benefit from that. When I was doing it, I lost 6 kilos, so that was a good bonus. And non-dog owners will benefit from having more healthy, happy humans around in their community. We'll also have social walking groups. We already have a little dog play group in the bay where owners of little dogs meet up for some safe play, which is very important for underconfident dogs, smaller dogs. We'll also be setting up similar bigger groups for bigger dogs and some beach cleanups at different beaches That way we can meet new people and do something positive for our community too. I know that TDC no longer has a contract with Control Services, so we don't have a dog ranger in the bay anymore. The dog rangers in our district were extremely skilled, so this is a big loss to our region. I understand they now have 2 rangers for the entire TDC district, which is massive.
Coming up to 5 minutes, okay?
Yep, I've got 3 lines left. Sorry. I'd like to know how the TDC intend to enforce the current rules, let alone any new ones with nearly 50% less staff. If they want us to pick up the slack and continue to monitor visitor behaviour, keep our beaches clean and clear and report bylaw breaches, then they really do need to treat us a little bit better. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks for your time. Questions? Questions? So far, so good? Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh. Katie.
Thanks, Abby. Okay, today. Kia ora. I'm here representing dog owners of Golden Bay also. I'm the secretary, or as we call it, the general dogs body, also the advocacy arm. So we've been gathering feedback from our members, as Gay said, over the past few months. And Gay's already done a great job of setting the scene as to why we formed. I'd like to use my time to dig a little deeper into a couple of issues that are a big problem for our members, and myself personally as a Millthorpe dog walker. I need to let our community board know officially that our members' #1 issue is access to beaches and off-leash areas for dogs that include but go beyond the dog bylaw. There are multiple ongoing issues with Forest and Bird. As you all know, they deposited rock barriers and all the things that Gay said, but they've also spread the false information in national media stating that 50% of oyster catcher chicks in Millthorpe are killed by dogs. It's a big problem. Regarding the misinformation printed in the press on the 14th of August, I'd like to state the following. Despite complaints to Forest and Bird's head office, regional manager and branch, we've only received misinformation and doubling down with no acknowledgement or attempt to rectify a false claim. We believe it's a deliberate act to support their aim of legislating dogs off of beaches. The area in question in the submission that was used to make up the statistic covers a small area of sand dune near a property and is not indicative of the beach of Millthorpe as a whole, where oyster catchers nest all along. There is no conclusive evidence to prove that dogs were the cause of death to all of these chicks. The survival rates of oyster catchers range from 30 to 50%, so the figures mentioned are typical rather than alarming. Our nearly 200 members in Morhua are aware and outraged by this misrepresentation, and smokescreen responses are frankly an insult to people's intelligence. It's unbecoming for a national charity to misuse its influence in such a manner. Staff and Top South media editors eventually conceded and took the quote out on October the 25th, over 2 months after it was originally printed. They admitted that they could not verify the claim, which being presented as a statistic from someone who is a chair of a national charity local branch would be seen as fact rather than opinion. Future areas of advocacy for dog owners Golden Bay. Forest and Birds organisation has either ignored all our emails or failed to address the issue. The head office's weak attempts to discredit us in the GB Weekly, coupled with a lack of guidance from the regional manager, suggest that this approach is endemic to the organisation as a whole. Our members have been asking Forest and Bird for an apology. The statistic is clearly untrue and is deserving of a clear answer. Yet instead they are doubling down on their rhetoric. The nationwide Forest and Bird dog policy relies on cherry-picked science. The first reference cited is a blog from 2003, not a peer-reviewed paper. The lack of scientific rigour is unacceptable for a national charity, and the policy itself is unworkable. Elements of the National Biodiversity Strategy, to man it or to tie it, concern the committee members of Dog Owners Golden Bay in its scope and how it affects regional councils, and will be a future area of focus for us. As community board members and councillors, you are leaders in this space. Gay's already alluded to the harassment of dog walkers over the hill. I feel I must reiterate that there have been 3 reports of harassment by bird lobby members reported to the police in Kaiteri in the last month. Dog owners of Golden Bay members are expressing their concern about the divisiveness of the rhetoric from Forest and Bird is causing in our community. We will be encouraging our members to engage with the democratic process through submissions to the council, to the public, public reserve classifications and the urban plan up to 2050, but they remain frustrated at what they see as a foregone conclusion. So we are here today because our members would like to hear from the councillors and community board members on this matter. We all know each other in this small community, and our members are seeing a close relationship between the community board and Forest and Bird. This is the elephant in the room. They're concerned and feeling mistrustful of the democratic process. While I understand you're not obligated to respond, and I thank Councillor Butler for her response to that end this morning, we believe a candid response from the board on this matter could go a long way to creating a sense of integrity and trust between the board and our members, to counteract the perceived lack of neutrality of the board on this matter, and thereby potentially easing tensions and preventing further conflict in our community. So for this reason, I would like to publicly ask the board the same question I asked Councillor Butler. Do you condone the approach taken by Forest and Bird on this matter? With respect to the bylaw process itself, I submit to the community board from Dog Owners Golden Bay a chart that I created from all 644 written submissions to the council. Yes, Robert, it did take a long time, which we believe show quite clearly an underwhelming response to the survey. So my final question today to the board is, will the TDC be producing and publicly sharing results from the survey data when posting the summary of their deliberations? And will it include all the responses? We felt the community board's submission on the dog control policy was quite one-sided, and we're surprised you didn't consult with local dog owners, since 1 in 3 households have dogs. We feel the smear campaign from Forest and Bird against dogs has contributed to this outcome, and don't believe there is clear evidence or a mandate from the public opinion to ratify the draft bylaw as it stands.
That's 5 minutes now, Katie.
No, maybe, maybe.
Thank you very much. Are we able to grab a copy of that for Jess?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to put the right wording for question?
Right.
Thank you very much.
I'm assuming that you'll want to take some time to consider my response.
Absolutely. We won't discuss it again until our next meeting in December, and then we'll gather information in that meantime. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our public forum presenters. Thank you to all those that have made the time to come and speak to us today. Any declarations of interest today for any agenda items? Right, everybody's happy? Lovely. So we confirm the minutes from the 23rd, from the 23rd of September.
That's Exodus.
Yeah, just Joe.
Joe, what
Yeah,
did you
friend
do?
Joe.
Yeah.
So, again, we've still got a few on Zoom. Hi, Zoom people. So can I have someone to move the minutes from the September meeting which are incorrect, please? Excellent, councillor Butler, and a seconder. Seconded by board member Dixon. All those in favour?
Right.
Lovely, thank you. Any late items? Now, Grant, you wanted to raise one that was time critical for the submission to, I'll let you do it.
Yeah, New Zealand Post have brought out, they're asking for submissions to their long-term plan, I suppose, where they go forward on post boxes, especially rural ones, and turning areas into sort of cluster boxes rather than having a post box outside your home anymore. It'd be in a cluster somewhere a little way away, and I'm wondering if the board want to put a submission into that. The submissions close on the 10th of December, and that's just a thought. We could have a discussion about that. It's before our next meeting, so it's why.
It's possibly because we don't have enough information of the board,
Yeah.
possibly more about alerting the public to it, and maybe encourage them to go and have a look at it and to submit as well.
Is that part of their plan to reduce services generally?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What is it?
Going from 5 to 3 days.
Three, I think, what did you say, Kim, three
They've
pieces
done
of
that
mail?
work, the 3 pieces of mail on average per household
Per
a
week.
week. So that's, you know, based on that demand, I think it's justified to pull back services. That's the way they pitched it.
I think there's, we can ensure that the community know this is happening.
Yes.
But I think Grant's point is valid, that we may consider putting a submission in as a board, from a
Is this
isolated rural area where people, I mean, you know, I don't know what, I'm just looking up to read a bit more about it.
Is this something we want to do a workshop on instead of trying to read it now and?
I think it's
come to
probably a good
terms with
idea.
that? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Do we want to set a date for that now, since we're all here with our funds, or do we want to do it after the meeting closes? Probably more official after the meeting, isn't it? Okay, is that okay with you, Chris?
Sure, yeah.
You know, the date for submissions?
10th of December,
Right, so
which is, 6 days before our next meeting.
Which is why we,
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
awesome, thanks, Grant. Okay, so we'll make sure we do that before we leave.
What, yeah, so I think, we're just gonna be clear about what it's, so just a quick read here. Among the changes, we're reducing the minimum delivery frequency and allowing New Zealand Post to deliver to cluster or community boxes for new addresses.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they're, it sort of sounds at first blush like we're going to lift our boxes out of the ground and go and join the neighbours. Anyway, so let's just be clear about what's being proposed.
Yeah, so we'll encourage people to have a look at it and then we'll make a choice creation. On to our presentations. So we have a presentation, I believe, on the Port Taranaki structure update, and I believe
Tanya and Stephanie.
Tanya and, yes, thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Hello,
Hi, everyone.
how are you?
Good.
Oh,
Nice.
The floor is yours. Oh, Tanya's just here.
She's I'm still here.
Oh,
I usually have a nice screensaver masking my renovations on the bedroom, so I don't think you need to see all of that.
fair enough.
First thing I wanted to do was check that you guys got the material that Grant brought to our attention. Hadn't got to you last Thursday, but
Oh, so-
hopefully it's got to you in the meantime.
It's in the agenda.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. It's in the yep. Has everyone found it? 21, I think, page, is that right? No, it's page 7, sorry. I'll go back.
No, it's actually a couple of attachments
Attachments down the bottom.
down the bottom.
No, thank you.
On the, not in the actual agenda, but in the.
And the
She's
I'll figure out how to go back.
That's one.
That's what I want. Good, brilliant. Okay.
The consultants involved.
So what I've done, we did a workshop last Thursday with full council and included Grant was able to join us with that, and it was pretty long. And so what I've done is a quick version, a summary version for you guys, because I didn't think you'd want to spend hours like we did last week. So I'll just share that on the screen. Can you see that?
Yep.
Awesome. So we've talked to you guys before over the last year or more about the structure plan that we're putting together for Port Taranaki, and really this is just an update and a stepping stone to let you know where we're at and where we're going. So we've done a whole lot of public engagement around the issues and options, mostly last year and then earlier this year. So we'd taken all of the masses of information, particularly with things like the Provincial Growth Fund business case and those kind of things, and put them together into a collated set of issues and options for going forward with where Port Tarakohi is today and where the council sees it going in the future. We had a open drop-in forum back in February and March, and a hui and site visit with MKM and the iwi reps, and then collated all of that into a draft structure plan. The structure plan area has changed slightly from what we talked about with you last year. The original area was in that graphic to the right of the screen, and it included all of the Port Tarakohi Limited land in the orange. As during the course of the discussions with them, they decided they didn't want to be part of the structure plan because they couldn't see any particular merit in it. They're quite happy with their current industrial zoning for now, but they're open to the idea of revisiting that in the future. So for the purposes of a structure plan at this point in time, we've revised the area to that's shown in the orange area on the orange dotted line on the left-hand graphic. So it's primarily the council-owned land and the Department of Conservation land on the headland where the memorial is. In terms of the background to the structure plan, I'm sure none of you are unaware of the significant history of Port Tarakohi itself, the Pākehā history in terms of the Golden Bay cement plant and the original wharf. But prior to that, it's a very significant area for tangata whenua, very important for both shelter and travel and food gathering. Obviously, over time, it's become the focus of commercial activity for the marine space with Mahua and the aquaculture development, and a role as resilience if Takaka Hill Road is unavailable. It's also obviously a very important community and recreational area and is really important landscape and ecological importance. The zoning currently is what we would non-technically refer to as a patchwork. It's got pieces of zoning scattered all over the place that probably made sense at some point in time, but doesn't reflect what's going on the ground today. And as I mentioned before, there's an awful lot of material from past projects and processes that we've used to base the structure plan project on. In terms of guiding the structure plan, we've based it around some key themes, grounding it in the mana whenua interests and values, really trying to clearly reflect community needs and desires, the special environments, and the potential for growth. And I use the term growth in a qualified way. We're not talking about growth for growth's sake, but we're talking about the potential for change, growth from what's there now in the right ways and in the right places. And also being very conscious to the need to respond to hazards and climate change being in a coastal location. As I mentioned, we've done quite a bit of engagement. We had a hui and a site visit back in May last year. We gave you guys a presentation update in February, feels like a lot longer ago. We've done a whole lot of work on the Shape Tasman page and in Newsline to raise people's awareness of this, and a public drop-in, open day drop-in session back in February. We've talked to lots of people, and we've sat down with all of the council teams to try to coordinate with them what they can and can't and do and don't want to pursue. And we've also gone back to MKM and iwi last month with the draft structure plan as it was at the time. Probably a really key thing to point out in terms of the structure plan is that this structure plan is an umbrella document. So it's being run by Tanya and the planning policy team because it started from the idea of doing a plan change or a rezoning to a port zoning, and we needed to get the background material in place to do something like that. It's grown more into a an umbrella document to set a direction that will apply to a whole lot of parts of council. So you'll see when we get a bit further through there that there's actions that will need to be implemented through different parts of council, hopefully all pulling in the same direction to get the right outcomes. In terms of the engagement to date and the previous projects and processes, there's very clear alignment around what the issues are for the community. So there's a strong desire for increased and enhanced amenities and activities from a community perspective. So outside the commercial port itself, different things that people want to see going on in that space, and particularly around the full range of opportunities for recreation. So not necessarily just related to boating, but also other things that can be done in that space. The commercial port itself obviously is recognised as an important resource economically, but also for potential tourism options. A lot of people had lots of ideas around what could happen there, and the resilience element, now that the resilience ramp is in and things like that. And then the other key theme that a lot of people expressed was the need to protect the ecological and landscape qualities of the area. In terms of the structure plan that we're proposing as a draft, it's essentially delineating the space into 3 portions. One being around that commercial port area and activity, and the need for that to be separated from and clearly identified as a different function from the recreational and community spaces, more on the western side of the port. And then the area is framed by conservation areas with the cliffs and the important vegetation and the piece of national park on the headland. So this structure plan as a spatial layout that we'd be putting forward is as you see on the screen, and that's grounded in 3 key objectives. The first one being to provide clarity of uses and separation of conflicts. There are sometimes actual, more often perceived conflicts between users of the space. Over recent years, there's been a lot of work gone into securing the commercial port itself. Clearly, responsibilities for health and safety have driven a lot of that, and that's reduced some of the actual conflicts, but there's a lot of perception of conflict. And this structure plan won't always resolve that, because where lots of people want to do lots of things, there's inevitably conflict. But we're hoping that being clearer about who and what goes where will help to resolve some of that for the future. The next key objective is around providing for growth and change. And again, this is about finding the right growth and the right opportunities in the right spaces, and being quite targeted, not just about what's there now, but what's envisaged to be possible for the future. And then alongside both of those is the ability to celebrate the values and protect the special spaces. And just stepping slightly closer to those 3 objectives, as you've seen on the structure plan diagram, there'll be 3 key areas. There will be some overlap. So for example, in that western side of the port, where the focus is on recreation and community, open space and those kind of activities, it can't be forgotten that there's a really important ecological element with the penguin habitats. So it's about reducing conflict and being clear about uses rather than completely separating activities, because there needs to be some overlap. As I said, the idea of growth is to look more closely at what kinds of compatible activities fit together. So, for example, when we talked about this last week in the councillor workshop, we were talking about things like what could be possible in the community open space recreation side of things. And there seems to be a repeated idea that there can be other, what I guess you'd call commercial activities that still are more compatible with that community space, such as some kind of hospitality, whether it be a coffee cart, fresh fish sales, a restaurant. Again, lots of ideas in that space. But it's about finding opportunities that work for the space and reduce those conflicts and enhance the use of the area. And then in that third objective, we've got some pretty special things at the port, not just the penguins, but also some really amazing rock formations and some rare species on the cliffs and things like that. And there's a need to look to protecting those, but also celebrating some of the other values like the iwi cultural values in that space. And then the third part of the structure plan is the action plan. So as an umbrella document, this document can set in place direction for future activities that provide implementation either directly or through other tasks. So some of the actions are direct and some are another piece of work that's needed. And that's often where there's still areas that we don't have enough information on to direct exact implementation. So in relation to that objective 1 and the separation of uses, one of the key actions for that will be to rezone the structure plan through a plan change. At this stage, we're still looking at the idea of a port zone, but within that port zone, delineating what activities are appropriate in which parts of the area. So having overlays that show what kind of activities go where. With the western side, the idea is to prepare and consult on a proposal to classify that as recreation reserve. So instead of having the current approach where the whole port is a mix of working harbour and recreation, to be a bit clearer around the intentions of that. And then there's I guess you'd say, a technical piece of work that's needing to be done around legalising the additional reclamation that's gone on recently and the property boundaries. So that's sort of a legal piece of work that needs to be done. In the actions for objective 2, a piece of work that's been identified is to look at what activities have a functional need to be in the port area and whether there's the ability to rearrange what's there now. One of the things that's come up a number of times is the piece of land that's used for the motor camper van layover and whether that is the right place or the best place for that activity. The plan change that I just referred to would also apply specific rules on what can and can't go in different parts of the port. And one aspect of that is to be more enabling of the right things in the right places. We did a piece of work looking at what consents the port, the commercial port, has over the years, and almost everything that they've wanted to do has needed resource consents, even for very obvious port activities. So the idea is to make it clearer what's meant to be there and make that easier through the consenting process. We've also got a number of other pieces of implementation, reporting and documentation that need to be looked at around the things like future development within the commercial port. There's obviously been a lot of work over recent years, but this structure plan is looking to provide a space for a development plan or a management plan for the port itself to look towards the future. Three waters servicing obviously is an issue that needs to be resolved as there's limited reticulation and limited servicing. And roading and transport is an area where there's some known conflicts between users. And then the other connection that I referred to before around the reserves status, the Port Tarakohi section within the Golden Bay Reserve Management Plan needs to be updated to reflect what happens in that space. And then the actions for the third objective are partly underway, which is awesome. So the plan changes that are being written at the moment for the outstanding natural landscapes and features and the natural character in the coastal environment, which will be plan changes 82 and 83, that'll be going into the public arena next year, will cover some of those elements. In due course, looking more closely at the areas of ecological significance and how they can be protected as a piece of work council will at some stage be doing. And the idea is to also look at working more closely with iwi around ways to celebrate their cultural values. An idea that's come through from some parts of the community is to formalise community biodiversity group or efforts in that space and look towards restoration and regeneration and enhancement work, ongoing support to DOC around the memorial land, and a contamination management plan to fit in with the requirements of the coastal policy statement around managing contamination in the port. And then our next steps, which I cut across from last week. So the next step was to present to you. So I guess I can tick that box. We were aiming to go to talk to the Port Tarakohi advisory group, which was going to be meeting later this week, but that's been postponed. So we were just working on plan B for that one, and then looking ahead to doing more public engagement around this draft structure plan, iwi and stakeholder meetings, and in the new year doing the updates to create a final structure plan and present that back to yourselves and the councillors in the new year. So I feel like I've run through that really, really fast. Tanya, what have I missed?
I think you've covered everything.
So what else do you want to know from us on that?
Celia, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, no, it's just, just reflecting on the response at the workshop that we had at council. And one of the questions that I think is just clarifying in my mind, how, given this concept of the structure plan being, an umbrella type of thing, the commercial side of the port is run as an enterprise under council's enterprise portfolio, which actually has its own trajectory and own way of making plans so that it can be a profitable organisation or profitable commercial enterprise. So I'm just a bit confused about how that fits in with where it fits in with the structure plan. I mean, would you not just say that the commercial enterprise would be a separate function that works its own way through?
What we need to figure out is how these can work in parallel, essentially. So at the moment, the enterprise committee is tasked with the enterprise team running that as a commercial port. The focus of that being on that eastern side where the commercial port activity is operating, and with less focus on the western side where the recreational elements are. And that's pretty natural. They're not making money from that western side in the same way as they do from the eastern side and the contracts they hold there. So it's around being clear around what spaces are to be used for what activities.
Right, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Chris?
Thanks for the presentation, and I'm going to repeat some things I said at the workshop. I noticed you haven't adjusted your presentation in response to my comments there. Was it?
Sorry, Chris, haven't had time in the one working day in between.
If I sit through it again at some other point down the track, I'd love to see a few little changes to it. But I think you've got to reframe how you speak about the conflicts at the port. And, there aren't conflicts at the port, and I think you're generating something that's not true. I think that things are just carrying on down the port as they do, and there are things to work out in all sorts of areas with all the range of activities. But I know some of the recreational boaties down there would like something more developed, and that'll come. But I'd ask that we stop putting forward this idea that a part of why we're doing this is to address conflicts and tensions, because I just don't see that they're there. I notice I'm getting a little louder as I say that, so I'll calm myself down. But, and also that, I think that when you put on there as one of the things that's going to happen is the development of a plan for the port. I just don't. There's been such a lot of planning happen for the port. So the whole big business case, hearings, public consultation and input, to me. So I think if we're going to keep saying that, we need to be specific about it more. Because I mean, goodness, there might be some extra planning post all of what's gone on. So there's such a lot of development has happened down there in the commercial part of the port. A lot of money, a lot of work, pretty successful, I'm hearing. So I think we need to be more specific about what we're calling a development plan for the port. And it might be something that goes out, I don't know. Anyway, I just don't know that that's a relevant thing to bring forward still. And it'll be helpful, I think, if you're able to explain the difference between these spatial areas that you've got a delineation there and the difference between that and actual zoning that could happen. So that's one of the key things that we discussed at the workshop, was to understand that map with that line on that we've just seen today isn't a zone, but what it is like a spatial area. And so the difference between what that will do and indicate and then what actual zoning will generate would be good to know, I think.
I had a sort of sorry. I had a sort of question about the zoning, because obviously zoning is obviously very different than the plan. And talking about having a recreation reserve, that sort of goes against having a coffee cart or a restaurant, because it's a recreation reserve. So I'm a little confused at that.
Never mixed use area. What did we say?
So yeah. So does it mean the recreation reserve is in a specific area within that recreation area?
So the recreation reserve aspect of the work is a piece of work that the reserves team would have to take forward. They are keen on exploring the opportunity to do that and the options around it. There is technically no direct ruling out of something like a coffee cart in a recreation reserve. It's just around how that reserve and the reserve management plan are framed and what's provided for within the specific reserve, and then working through things like licensing.
The recreation reserve is usually the most lenient of all of the reserve zonings. And certainly if you look, and it usually applies to stadiums, aquatic centres, those sorts of things. And it will certainly be anticipated that there'd be a coffee cart or possibly even a cafe running in those things. So it wouldn't be uncommon.
Yes.
And at our workshop too, we spoke about, when the zoning time comes, it could be that there's a mixed use area, that includes a sort of boat club in the area outside of the boat club footprint, and where the sort of that little area, and wider than that too, so that would accommodate that, because actually, the boat club could run a restaurant there. It was pretty great what they were doing. This would allow to do it under the lease. So, making room for those things to be able to happen there, and things that we're not anticipating now, I think would be good. You can bring alive that whole area of the port for people to use, like the boat club where the lawn is there to improve that, plant some trees, put some seating.
It's an amazing space.
The value of the structure plan is if we know what needs to happen there and what people want to know happens there, when we come to the zoning of it, that's where we actually make it happen. We can write it in there. At the moment, they've borrowed a whole lot of zones which don't really fit well, either at Port Tarakoe or Port Motueka. And by changing the zoning on it to reflect what does and needs to happen there means that it should happen more easily.
Right,
Yeah, what are the risks involved with doing this to the wider community? Say algal blooms and earthquakes, etc. What sort of risks are you taking those sort of things into account?
It shouldn't really matter what the port's being used for. If there's an algal bloom and you know, mussel industry takes a dive, it may be that seaweed takes over, or it may be again, instead of marine mussels coming across it, maybe it's rock. What we're intending to do through the zoning shouldn't be affected by the use of it. And the enterprise team, I'm sure, will be onto it as to making sure that they got, you know, the best use of the port.
Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah, just looking at the sort of zoning indications, you've got the recreation and the commercial. There's the marina on the commercial side, and there's also a marina with moorings on the recreational side. And I'm not sure. I'm talking to some of the recreational boaties about, you know, increasing the number of moorings or whatever. Is there? It would be a shame if this zoning sort of precluded the marina development in one part or the other.
Not zoning is the point, it's a spatial area.
Yeah, but like the marina is in both of them now. Would that continue?
It probably should. Prior to this, I worked on the moorings plan change, and I'm very much aware that Golden Bay is short of all tide moorings, and the ones in Port Tarakoe are important. I would certainly anticipate that the port zone would support moorings being available. At the moment, they're all consented, and I would presume that putting a mooring in would be an easier task, whoever was to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's answered our questions so far. Thank you very much for the time you've taken today to come and talk to us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we've got the board report. These are Robert's coming to talk. Robert might go zooming in, but they're not here yet, are they?
Might be with Gavin.
Gavin, where's Gavin? Here he comes. Look at that.
I've got Robert and Margaret.
Oh, should we skip to the instancy here now and then go on to the board report? Is it so? If we go with you now, Robert and Margaret?
Ready? Thank you. Yeah, Margaret will speak to it.
Let's do that.
We're presenting the report pretty much as read. I'll just say that it's pretty straightforward. There are 4 community groups whose occupations are needing formalizing. 2 are standard renewals and 2 are long-term expired leases. That's pretty much it. Any questions, please?
No, it seems fairly straightforward, doesn't it? Has anyone got questions for Robert or Margaret?
Yeah, I do. Kia ora, Chris Hill here. The Collingwood Museum Society Incorporated. That's the Rockfall Museum, isn't it, too? It's the people that run the Rockfall Museum.
The leases have been separate, I believe. Were they not as far as you knew? In my files, I show them separate.
Oh, yeah. Have you always seen them as separate?
I have, but I can look into that for you and make a note of that.
I was involved a little bit with the Rockfall Museum group when they were having some changes and some difficulties. So they asked me to help out a little bit. And what I understood from that time was that the Rockfall Museum is actually run by the Collingwood Museum Society. That's the name.
Have to look into that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Do you want that, I don't know, I'm sure it's possible that we put that one on hold, or that
Oh,
I just
no.
simply get back to you, or?
I wouldn't put it on hold. I think it's been something that's lapsed for a while, hasn't it?
Yes,
Some
yes.
is within it lapsed and, anyway, I'll can look into it myself too.
I always thought they were separate, but you would know because you did that whole sort out with them. Okay. Any other questions or?
Yeah, just, if we were to confirm the, Golden Bay Heritage Ariri Trust, one, because you're still negotiating with it, should we just put that on hold until it's been done? I'm just a little bit aware that maybe we're putting the cart before the horse because it's still under negotiation.
Well, you realize these are on fee simple land, and the delegation is with the property services manager, Nick, to sign. We are certainly not going to strong arm anyone into signing anything. This is just to get feedback from all of you and basically just supporting Nick, the property services manager, in his decision on these. This is not Reserve Act land, so it's the delegation falls to Nick to make the decision. But we would certainly want your blessing, is the bottom line.
Chris?
With the Collingwood Museum one again, we lease the land from Fens and then we sublet it out to the museum. We're wanting to keep doing that. Would the museum not be able to enter into something? And I'm supportive of them and I'm not against the museum, but would it be possible for the museum to have its own lease with
Fens?
With Fens? Or why are we still in there?
It could, Rob.
Cure, Chris. I think Fens would prefer to leave those decisions to the council. It's a bit of a historical anomaly that that this is Fens land, which has long been leased to the council, with the idea that we make the decisions on the subleases. I think the risk would be that Fens might want a bit more money. That would just be my gut reaction is if we were to step out and factor in I'm pretty sure there's a playground involved as well. It might make things more complicated.
Probably heard that here first, that if someone else had something, they'd charge more than council, so hope media are alert to
I'm speculating wildly and possibly inaccurately. I think Fens are quite happy not being directly involved.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, was there anything more to add or we'll go ahead and? I'm happy to move. Celia's happy to move. Grant's happy to second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye, excellent. Thank you very much for your time, Robert and Mako. Always nice to see you.
You.
Looks a lovely day over there.
Yes, it is lovely. It's a little windy, yes. So you just fix that. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Okay, so that puts us at 2:15. Does anyone want to break for a tea or a coffee? Or just keep moving through? Does anyone need a quick 10-minute comfort stop?
I'm just going to get myself a cup of tea.
All right, let's have a quick,
But we can
no, let's
carry
have a quick
on.
5-minute pause because
The other bill and.
let's do it. So we'll just pause for a minute. Maybe 10 minutes. I'll turn around and get Scott. I'll just put the jag on. Sorry.
Not yet.
Jag on. Right.
Back on track.
You know, you're welcome to get yourself a tea, coffee.
Oh, no, I'm my water, thank you very much, yeah.
Sorry, I should have said
I
before.
don't like to.
Oh, no, no, sorry, I should have looked short there on the board.
That's the job, eh?
All right, we're back up.
Um,
Excellent. Okay, so back into it at 2:24. So we'll go into our board reports. Public forum, not a lot to discuss. Geez, thank you very much for passing on that information to the roadside rubbish collecting wonderful people in the community.
Were they happy with that?
I haven't heard back. Were they happy, Jess?
Several.
There was that one, yeah. Haven't heard back?
It wasn't her preference, but she respected that that was the current guidance.
Excellent. So it was a great outcome. Thanks, Jess. So Karen Brooks. Now, she did have some questions. Now,
Yes.
were they answered?
No.
I emailed Mike. Let me follow up on that because I thought we'd forwarded those to Mike.
Probably needed following up before
Yeah, I
now.
will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we're
I
dealing
just-
with it here, not
Yeah,
expecting now.
that was the questions around the wastewater.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, going forward, I think the community board, the council is starting to think about how it's going to move forward on the Tākuka new, because we've got to get new for wastewater disposal scheme.
Yes.
And it's going to be following on from the Motueka one, like the Motueka one is, they're starting the group that's going to be looking at it. But I just think it would be really good for the community board to be kept, not that there's anything much happening, but that we actually are kept abreast of any issues to do with the Tākuka one.
Absolutely.
Is it going to be land-based? Do we have to look for some land to buy? That type of thing. And to actually know what's coming out of the Motueka work. Because they're working with an iwi, they've got a big working group. They've got iwi and council staff and community and all that. All working together, so that would be mirrored here, but just a bit later, because it's in the long-term plan for the end of the long-term plan, about 2031, 32.
Okay, so I'll chase it up because I've got a vague memory of Mike, but I'll make sure I forward it around in an email so everyone's got that same information.
Okay.
Meeting frequency, so.
Can I just with the other ones, with the dark sky proposals, so the board's not gonna sort of do anything to advocate for that or actively help, what we're noting that people have expressed that and concern and what they want. Is the board inclined to, what could the board do? Is it want to do something?
Through the chair, we've had people come here to the board over the last few years asking similar questions, and it's 8 years, and we've always been quite supportive. So a letter of support would be, I would think, a minimum of that we would.
Just to them in general.
To whom it may concern, or this is that they were talking more about Kaharangi, specifically, and I think in the past I've talked about Mahu and Golden Bay. So is it a letter of support for them for DOC? Conservation, is that who would be?
It's not us to do that. It's not us to do
that we support.
So are the group actively seeking to get a status for that?
Yes, I believe so.
And
so a letter of support from the board might be quite useful, just an open letter of the board is supportive of the Kaharangi Dark Sky Sanctuary proposal.
From the community board to DOC.
Just no to the, to the committee to use for anything.
To Gordon and Sean.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Yeah, just a general letter of this is a great,
So
great.
they can then
initiative.
take, they
Yeah.
can then
To
use
wherever
it.
they like, yeah.
Yeah.
As they see fit.
That's,
So,
yeah.
I'm happy to word something up, send it round. And get input, okay. Email letter. Cool.
In terms of the Golden Bay Cycle and Walkway Society. What are you going to do there? Because
Oh, they sent the email, we definitely, I think everyone should have got a copy of the response, I forwarded it to, went to Robert, went to Jamie. About, it was at a different email, oh goodness, hang on, there was something about bikes, oh, that might have been about cycle, might have been about parks. I'm gonna find it.
I was late to the meeting, this is something else, but this is where, this is to do with the cycleway around to the port? Is that correct?
Yes, yeah,
So-
so I forwarded that on to Robert, but I haven't had a
that they had put forward a plan
Yeah.
some time ago. And it hasn't been action.
Yeah, I think one of the points that they're making is that council have developed the port, or that port development, and if that was done by a private company, that was some private company that was developing the port, it's quite possible that council might have had a condition on their application around transport and public access way and walking and so I think that's a key aspect that they brought forward. And I wasn't sure I was talking with you about this, Kim, or somebody else, I think, and they thought that they probably had a, it's a reasonable thing to consider, and that perhaps that would have been the case. So there's quite a bit in this, other than the fact that it would cost many millions of dollars to build a cycleway around the road, and it's likely that how cyclists and walkers are accommodated is done through other means.
And we did try very hard to get the speed limit really reduced around there, because that's the other way of compensating for cycling. And given the current climate on speed limit, the political climate, it's not easy, but we got it, we couldn't get it actually below 50 in terms of what the council was prepared to ask for.
And so through the chair, has that actually happened? Or
Well, that we're in.
are we still in the?
Well, the transport, regional transport committee is still in the process of actually sorting out all those speed limit changes, because they're all going to have notices, and it's going to take a long time, and now the government said we should consult them.
Well, I can certainly follow up with Robert, because I know I definitely had a conversation with him about the item from public forum, so I definitely sent him the email regarding the plans, which he's already had from Chris as well. So.
Yeah, so Chris is engaged with council directly, yeah.
I wonder, did he want a letter of support from the board, or did he just want us to chase it through? Can anybody remember?
I don't know, wasn't he?
Did he not have a presentation to?
He did, and he just wanted us to push it forward with council.
Did he give us that? Because.
Jess will repeat that, I think.
I
believe it went into minutes attachments for the
Okay.
previous meeting.
Previous one, so I'll double check and we'll go from there. All right, oh, skip down to my page. Okay, good job. Meeting frequency, so we decided in April, the board to move for 6 weekly meeting frequency, and then to give it a few meetings and see how we felt it was going, and then have a check in. And Grant's reminded me of that, thank you, Grant, and we were meant to discuss it last meeting, and it slipped off, and I checked, so apologies for that, but let's have the discussion now. So is the current 6 weekly meeting working for people along with our later meeting time at 1 p.m? Any thoughts?
Yeah, for me, one of the guiding things around this decision for me is the depth and breadth of the agenda. So if you think if we were, you know, moving out to 6 weekly meetings, does the agenda end up being really big and full, and is it manageable? And, you know, I still think we've got a pretty light agenda, which is partly to do with, I think, what the board picks up and makes happen and works with. But most of what comes onto here really is generated from council or from people in the public. So I think that, you know, I think as a board we could still do a whole lot more. If we were at the end of the year to think, what was the thing that the board picked up and ran with and really helped to generate something, you know, I'd struggle to think about what that was. So that's one of the measures for me, and I can't see a reason to go back to monthly, and 1 o'clock works well for me, and I'm open to whatever, you know, if other people, there's a majority of different views.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I feel the agenda at the moment is and the 1 o'clock, it's good because you can get things done in the mornings or.
Yeah, with how it's been going at 6 week intervals, yeah.
Grant, I know you feel differently.
Yeah, I just wonder if the community in general are not engaging as much with us anymore, because it's not a nice even. We can advertise that we've got a community board meeting coming up, but it used to engage with quite a lot of people, and it doesn't seem to be quite the same engagement through public forum and public anymore. I don't know. It's I'm okay with 6 weeks. I agree with Chris on the fact that we're pretty light in the agenda, and we could take up a lot more things that we are offered, have been offered and have fought for, especially during that process of the local board versus community board concept a few years ago, and we realised how much stuff we could take on board. So I kind of think, you know, at the moment, yeah, we could be filling that a little bit more, and then we might have to reconsider it again.
Yeah, I suppose I'm a bit like Grant, really. I think probably for the community, it's better to have the same, you know, the regularity of the one who's same time in the month. But I'm also with the staff point of view, that from the point of view of staff, that the 6 weekly thing is better. It's up there, but because it was a request of the government's, wasn't it?
It came in originated from,
Yeah.
but Gavin can probably speak to that.
Yeah. Are you able to speak to that, Evan?
Yeah, so through the chair, I think from a staffing perspective, the current program works quite well for our small team. I guess my concern would be for the community groups trying to get the timing in for their funding for discretionary funds and things like that. That's where I can see the benefit in going back to four weekly. But yeah, I think the 6 weekly program does work well for staff and the current pressures and challenges that we're going through at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very mindful of that. So that while I do agree with Grant in terms of the community, I am mindful of the use of our resources. And I think, you know, we should actually, I think that we need to have a mind to that. It's a big difference for staff capacity, 4 weeks versus 6. Robert.
Yeah, I am mindful about the community discretionary fund, but I mean, organisations just need to be a bit more organised as they do with other funders. It's not instant. Lotteries, you have to apply 6 months before they approve it, so they're not used, that's just normal. No, 6 weekly works for me, but I would probably like to see that maybe we get the minutes, like the action points from our meetings, so we can follow it up, like 2 or 3 weeks in, not
Okay.
6 weeks.
Or how that works, Gavin.
Just so that we don't have this 6 week gap between a meeting and then an action, then a follow-up action.
So through the chair, we can do that. And I can just put that into my my program and just reminders to get that sent out. Those sent out.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so was there any other input into that? Or are we happy to leave it at 6 months at 1 p.m? 6 weeks, sorry. Sorry, 6 weeks at 1 p.m.
And I appreciate coming out to Collingwood too. I have to say this, it's, you know, it's a lot more work for staff to set it all up, but I actually appreciate the fact that we're back here. Like how many people we had here today who are from out this way.
Well,
None.
Yeah, well, you know, there were a couple from here.
oh yes,
Oh, is
yeah.
it?
It's interesting that public forum speakers came out from Takapuna
Yeah.
Yes.
to speak.
Shows how important.
But have any of us been hearing from people about, they want us to be meeting more often, or they not being able to access meetings? or-
No, and but I don't think it was listening. Has there been any feedback about the plan?
Yeah, I had one person say to me, only one person, though, who said, look, you know, that we're getting this democracy now and we're not having, and you're elected and paid to have 12 meetings a year. That's what they said to me.
It's not that much to get a meeting.
Define a meeting, I know.
All right, so we're happy to stick at 6 and 1?
Yeah.
All right. Prize giving sponsorship requests. We've received our annual request from Collingwood Area School and Gold Bay High School to sponsor the school's end of year prize, a prize. Is everybody happy to donate? We chose last year to donate $100 each. Are we happy to continue with that, or we would like to increase it, decrease it?
Yeah, yes, good to go with it.
Okay, thank you. 100 for each school, lovely. There was the Cultural Connections Workshop. So this is coming up very soon, and we do have an attachment with the information. So it's good to see that here in the bay.
I'm just a little bit confused about what they're asking. I know they're notifying that it's on, but are they wanting us to participate, or are they just letting us know that it's on? That's what I have been a bit confused about from the very word go over this. A workshop.
I think
to help diversify participation.
It's a community workshop, so it was more of a notification that this was happening, and should you be interested, you can register to attend. But led from Beata, our welcome communities.
Yeah, Brett has come to us before a few times and discussed what she does. I went to most of the meetings last year. They had over the hill talking about, you know, of what she's doing, and I kept pushing for something to happen a bit more in Golden Bay, and it's nice to see something that's actually happening over here. There's got a lot of people from other countries living here.
Are there any people that we need to reach out to about this, or do you think everybody will know?
I think it's
from other cultures.
We can definitely pass it around and it works.
Something the media needs to kind of maybe she contact the media, we get back to her to talk to our local media.
I'm assuming it's on the Facebook page and
well, it's been included in the newsline.
And newsline, yeah. So hopefully it's reaching
a lot
of people. a valuable workshop. Perfect.
It's with our Cambodian restaurant now. Courtyard Cafe.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay, all right, we'll make sure we pass those around to anything, so everyone can make it to that. The street on Commercial Street, I believe Lynn is here, maybe?
He was.
He still is.
Yep.
Right, so has everyone had a chance to read over the tree issue? And that the owners don't want ownership of it anymore, and that we could.
I think it was John, I think it was good old John Mitchell that planted those, if I remember correctly.
Whose idea was the Amelia's? We seem to have them everywhere.
Someone loves them all,
Peter
council.
Finlay.
Because we like Amelia's, we'll put one in.
Peter Finlay.
So our options are, we need to make a decision to either remove it at our cost or retain and repair, which both require investment from TBC. And the retain and the repair, we need an agreement made with the owners about who's responsible going forward. Feedback and thoughts from the board, or a question for Lynn. Lynn, have I captured it well, or is there anything else to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good, Abby. Yeah, I guess we need to just decide. I'm sorry about my image. I
Look
struggle.
like you're a witness
The
protection.
light, right? Yeah. I just can't get it right here. Yeah, so I mean, we could just walk away from it because it is on their land, but it seems that it was probably planted, and those planter boxes were probably installed by TDC or the catchment board.
John Mitchell.
So Lynn, from your perspective, what would you recommend? What would you like to see happen? What would be the best course of action to start? Just out of interest.
I think that perhaps the tree and the planter box should be removed. There's still 2 trees remaining. If we retain those 2 trees, plus there's a titoki outside the TDC centre there, I think there's enough street trees there. But at the end of the day, if the owners want to remove those other 2 trees, we couldn't really stop them.
Okay, that's through the chair. I thought about this quite carefully too, and I'm aware that we've got 2 other trees there. It's not just about the Amelia, it's about the ginkgo, and there's another tree which I'm not too sure what nationality it is. Maybe you can alert us to that. But
yeah, I think that's an ash tree.
An ash, okay. I'm just wondering whether or not we actually remove the whole 3. And I know that's a bit full on, but wait, and actually replant, because the ginkgo is actually it's going to grow huge, massive. They really do grow big, and I'm wondering if it needs to be in a better place, and that maybe something else goes in there, or maybe
we replant open because
the planters are definitely falling apart, all 3 of them, and I think it's going to get worse and worse, and it's going to be an ongoing liability for council if we take on the agreement of looking after them. And I'm wondering about the long-term solution that we can come up with. And yeah, I prefer to see trees, but it's not on our land. It's an awkward one, and obviously, yeah.
I think removal that was Grant.
I think we should leave the tree. We've got a shortage of effective shade trees in Commercial Street. That actually are very few trees that you can actually sit under in the shade, and that's one of them.
So do you think we should retain or repair?
That'd be mine. I think we should keep. I think we should.
Retain and repair?
Yeah, keep the tree.
And then have get staff to agree with.
Yeah.
It's effective.
going forward.
As,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's-
that's-
it's-
Oh, yeah, right, and then
Just through the chair,
excuse me.
one of the things, one of the issues with trees where they're planted too, and is that they've got pavement over them, all over them, and that's going to be very long term. That's not going to be a good solution for the tree. We've found that before. There was a very large beech tree behind the by the playground that was damaged because it was covered in pavement. It doesn't bode well for a long-term tree. That's my other argument with that.
And I do hear what Celia's saying about the not shade areas, but that's not really a place that people want to sit
They
and
do.
relax.
They
Oh,
do.
do they?
Yeah, they do.
Well, they do. They do. Okay, I stand corrected. I wouldn't sit there, but everyone else goes.
They do sit there.
They do. Okay, take it back then.
It's one of the few seats that's actually in that end of town.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's
That's the
one,
point, yeah.
there is one on the other side of the road next to old BNZ building, which is in direct sun on the street.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So if we got an agreement, Liz, going forward, if we wanted to retain and repair it, are you happy to have the conversation with the landowners? About going forward, who would? Sorry. Sorry,
Go on,
landowner.
Grant. Oh, me?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
I can have the conversation with them. I guess we just want something in writing to say that if we invest in retaining that tree, that they're not going to
Chop it down.
want it removed in the 2 years' time because they want to do something out the front there or change something. So there is a real risk to us of pouring further money into it. And the agreement would have to be whether an MOU would suffice or whether it would have to be a legal agreement. I don't quite know.
It gets really tricky, that's why I'm hearing it right on the side of let's remove it and then plant it somewhere else. Have another spot somewhere else.
We just cut down shade trees and main streets all over the place, and we just have to stop doing it.
Oh, no, if it was a TBC trick, I'd be like, we're not chopping down it. If it becomes tricky, as Lynn said, we could spend, 2-3 grand getting it sorted, and then 2 years' time the owners go, actually, I know we said we
Well,
would
it
it.
doesn't matter, if that happens, it happens. I mean, and we've had 2 years worth of a really lovely shady tree for people to sit up.
Quite lots of umbrellas for
my view.
Because of the way the tree is planted in a planter box like that, what condition is the tree likely to be in? Because it's raised up off the ground a bit, and I'm just wondering its safety value and its have we talked to the arborist about it?
Yeah, the tree itself is healthy enough. It's not an immediate likelihood of falling down. I think there is an issue that the pavement is raising a bit from the roots of it. Yeah. So that's creating potentially a trip hazard or a future hazard or a future cost for council for if we have to repave or the owners need to repave.
A bit of pavement in town.
What are your thoughts, Robert?
Not a reason to remove.
I don't know. I could go either way on this because it is great. It's a healthy tree. Why not retain it? But I do wonder about how long it's going to last. As Grant's meant it's paved over the roots, and I know
trees don't like that. Trees don't like that.
But it's not a reason to remove it.
No. But then if it's but what I'm saying is in 2 years it shows sign of ill health because of the pavement, or the pavement raises and then someone's walking along with their walker and.
Well, we'll deal with it then.
You could maybe remove some pavement in the back.
Sorry.
Make some room for it. Yeah.
Chris, thoughts?
I'm just trying to remember after all this what the problem is.
It's not.
So the tree
it doesn't belong to us.
tree doesn't belong to
No.
us, but the owner
Yes.
said we planted it, so it's our problem.
Yeah, but what is the problem? The box works in poor state of repair, well,
Yeah,
let's fix the box work.
We can make a much
There-
nice box.
There is the box work and the fact that somebody walked into the branch that the owners who say it's not their responsibility and they don't want to do anything with it, but when they needed to put the container in after the ITM fire, they locked a big or two branches.
Yep.
That I feel at least one of those branches needs to be removed for safety. So we've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
quoted.
Why don't we just tidy up the branches that need tidying up, tidy up the box work?
and we just need an agreement from them, as Lynn said, as to who will maintain it going forwards. So it's having to have that conversation.
So, well, is there going to be much maintenance going?
Well, it depends on whether it splits the pavement and.
Well, that's.
So we can,
Can we just keep this as an ongoing issue? Because you're going to go back to the owners and say, well, look, you know, we'd like to retain it and probably make it safer, the boxing and the seating. And please don't touch it, don't cut it down, cut any pieces of it. But can we guarantee that from them if we have some sort of, I think it's more than an MOU actually.
Well, that's the thing. If it needs to be a legal agreement, then we need to have lawyers involved as well.
We're not doing that. We will not do that.
we can't really
No.
sort of commit the council to spending that money, unfortunately.
Let's just tidy it up and
See what happens. Would that be an option, just tidy it up and see what happens in the future, Lynn?
We can easily take the branch off, but the question is the boxing. So that's probably going to cost 1,500 to redo. I had a quote some years ago, and it was a silly amount for what you think's needed. But I guess all the uprights have to be put back, you know, replaced in the ground to attach some sort of boxing to. So, you know, it would cost probably 2.5K, I'm estimating, to get that tidied up.
Through the chair, we have special we have a special projects fund. And I'm just wondering, you know, we are spending some money down the outside the Dangerous Kitchen to do some fixing, and I don't see this as much different, to be honest.
yeah, I mean, it adds to the amenity.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
it's
it
tidy, isn't it? And people sit there and I sit there and do a bit of council business under that tree sometimes.
I see, I went from knowing someone there to being told that everyone's. So Lynn, would that be an option if we, as a community board, since we've decided that we love the tree and wish to keep it? We'll fund it. We'll get it into a special project,
Boxing,
somehow the boxing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to fund it, that's fine.
Apparently we love trees, so here we go.
We can tick it off.
Yeah, we'll just do a resolution of some sort. I'm sure Gavin will word it up for us for next December and we'll go ahead with it. I guess if everyone's happy with that. Yeah.
It's, you know, and
Yes.
Oh, Gavin's thumbs up, that's good. That's what we like.
can we do a resolution now?
I can't see my thumb up.
Why are we waiting for them for a resolution?
Well, yeah, unless we were to whip one up now, but it's all going to be it's not going to be rushed through anyway because we're still waiting for a builder for the dangerous, so it's not going to be something that needs.
Can we just clarify about the actual tidy up of the tree? But did you say that just taking that branch off that pokes somebody in the eye can happen?
That can happen, and I really recommend we get on with that sooner rather than later. And if the option is to replace the boxing, I'm happy just to employ the arborist just to do that. Somebody actually knocked themselves right out on it.
Right, hit the ground cold.
Oh,
it was bleeding. It was quite.
Oh, no.
severe.
Yeah, it's, and liability goes back to the people who actually own the land rather than who planted the tree. So I guess they want some solution and they'd rather have us.
They were okay. Thanks. Okay, so we'll call that a plan going forward. So
Yeah.
Lynn, if you're happy to contact the arborist, we'll word something up and get it added into the quote for the fence.
And isn't there some more trees that we need to deal with within this?
Some more trees?
There was some more trees, I had an email.
What? What more trees?
I sent an email around about gum trees at the golf club.
Yes.
So, and I had a little email thread with Lynn, you and Grant around the process for the golf club to remove gum trees one by one. They're doing a lot of lovely native planting down there. School groups are involved, and just bumped into Dave one who said, you know, he'd spoken with you, Lynn, and might be if we want to go down and have a look, they've made that offer for us to pop down. So I've just suggested that the golf club write formally, Lynn, to you or Grant or somebody seeking that, and then it would appear in a board report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Following a good process.
It's looking lovely
Yeah.
down here, actually.
Cool. Oh, well, that is the tree. Happy? All right, good eye. On to our action sheet. Thanks, Lynn.
Sorry, through the chair. Could I also just raise that for the fence outside the dangerous kitchen that we need an email from the board to state that the board will take responsibility of the fence going forward?
Oh, yes, that's right. You did say that, sorry. Yeah, so the board would be committing future community boards to the ongoing ownership and maintenance of the fence outside Commercial Street, outside the dangerous kitchen.
Right.
Yep, I think
Yeah,
everyone's
that's-
happy. Everyone's nodding and smiling, so I'll do
Yeah.
that. I'll just
I will keep it.
email Kevin and I, maybe Kevin.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm imagining a thumbs up from Gavin.
Just one more thing, which actually I think.
Yeah. Good.
In our action sheet, while Lynn's still here,
Yes.
about the contact for the pickleball playground. I think you're in touch, Lynn, with Jules, is it about the pickleball playground?
Yeah, I met her and another resident out there a couple of weeks ago, so it's all looking pretty positive to proceed at this point. I've still got to just contact the immediate neighbours and just let them know that we're proposing this, and I guess if they object, you know, if they're really against it, then we would have to just revisit that, but
Imagine
it's
if keys to children's playground.
Thank you.
You'd be a brave person.
Thanks for that.
That's what I say, children.
But that's the Angry Giant or whatever it's called.
That's the end of
Sorry.
mine.
Imagine. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
All right. Do actions. Chair Langford speak. Oh, yes. So that was me, and I did speak to Mike and Matt, I think it was, and to Gavin, and we're preparing a report will be prepared for the December meeting due to the pressures on the financial team at this current point in time. So yes. Chair Lee, to speak to finance team, same. What's this one? Long-term plan feedback. So that's all completed, Jess, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. That came off right. Thank you to Alan and his team. Chair Langford to coordinate board feedback and communicate back to, oh, that was that, what is that? That was that survey that they wanted, they popped up in the meeting.
Information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we did that. Thank goodness. That's the only other problem with 6 weeks, I was not so long ago.
Yeah.
But shh, doesn't matter. I'll be more effective. Just, oh, yes, the pottery club.
Is that?
No, what was that?
What?
The button kiln, aren't they?
What's that? What?
Sorry, the go discretionary fund application, was that the pottery?
Yes, sorry, it hasn't pulled through, but that was the sole application from last
Yes,
meeting,
pottery club.
discretionary fund application.
And they did have quite a bit of funding, I thought, but I was going to, well, we suggested it to them as an option.
What was it?
That was Cathy I spoke to. Just that word in passing. That was the Pottery Club kiln bought by the new kiln, the new amazing sounding kiln.
The Golden Bay Pottery Club?
Yeah, they gave them $500 towards the
Yeah.
last one. And then we thought maybe they'd like special project funding.
All right,
Potteries become fashionable.
again.
Special project funding, so Lynn and I are still working on the fence. We need to, the two people we've approached are too busy. So we're looking for a third or fourth. So we'll keep looking, Lynn's onto it.
Now it's also a planter box.
It's what? What's
Fence
a plant?
and plant.
Oh, you fence and planter box. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Can we have that?
You're gonna struggle to find a builder before Christmas.
Oh, we won't. It will not be done before Christmas. I'm sorry.
Like the fence.
It's a real shame.
Because the builders don't have capacity.
Okay.
There's
Everything's before Christmas.
There's no capacity. Mind you, actually, there is one builder who might have capacity.
Yeah, but they have to be.
They have to be, that's the trouble, they have got to be a registered contractor, it's hard. There's only 3 or 4, so.
Well, there's less than that.
Sure.
So we may have to, oh, the tunnel house.
What's happening there?
Apparently,
Spotted in action by Chair Lang.
apparently, so I've reached out to all the primary schools, Motopipa School are very interested, not sure about Tākega, haven't heard back. Is Lynn still here? No, she's not, that's okay. Central have declined, because of space and water, but now the community gardens have come back and said, oh, actually, if you're gonna get a new tunnel house, then maybe we could find you some space.
Yes, that's what they said. That's what I talked to Sol and he mentioned that to me.
This is a very unusual space. No, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's central, it works for people.
That's the business, but.
We've got a solution.
We,
I know.
but we'll need to have a very clear, and it needs to be, it's our project. This is my thing on it. This is our project. And so that negotiation needs to come back through us, not between Lynn and Sol and
Duncan, thank you.
It needs to keep coming back to us, rather than this, we hearsay thing, so I think that's
And
actually.
that's what I passed on to Lynn.
Yeah, good.
So, thank you.
And down the track, say like pottery and its cycles, peaks and ebbs and flows and whatever, that for some reason, flower hanging planty things don't happen anymore, or no one's willing to do it. I just can't bear the thought of us spending, I mean, a lot of money went into that tunnel house, and I can't bear the thought of us spending whatever thousands more for another one there. At some point down the track, oh, it's gonna fall over, someone pulls it down or gets taken away or gets kept there and used, like, I think
Well, the land
it's good that
is
there's
back to rightful owner.
focus at the gardens there, I think.
So,
To some degree, but I think that we've got to be clear about who owns it, who's responsible for it. If something changes, can we pick it up and take it away and put it somewhere else? Let's just not have a shambly little outcome.
For our time, they had an MOU with Gardens that after, I think, 5 years, the tunnel house would become property of the Gardens. That's what they did back then, and I won't want to see that this time, to be honest.
Okay. All right, all good things to keep in mind.
But
Also, you know, if a big wind comes through and blows a big hole in it and bends some of the frame, have we got insurance? Does that come to count? Wouldn't even probably.
Are we signing and community board another job going forward in the future? Yeah, all good questions.
So whatever that little agreement is, and
that's why I thought it was just better off at the school, because it's always going to be a constant. But anyway, we'll see what they come back with.
also, the other, sorry, Grant.
Motopipa is also a good option.
Yes.
Got to say.
So, and I think we just need to get some advice from the owners of the land.
Yeah.
About what their, you know, if they can, you know, have the gardens, you know, what's the length of their lease with the owners? Is that going year to year or 2 years to 2 years? Let's just get informed about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
the other thing for me is that I think
Yearly.
that having it at the school, it provides opportunities for students,
Yeah.
which is actually a very big thing.
Yes.
And I think it'd be easier to negotiate with the school rather than, to just.
Yeah, just, if we can do it at the school, I would prefer,
I prefer a school, and I'm open to
too.
either, what's of your talking about, I'm not attached to either.
If you're right, Grant, and the gardens are on a yearly lease, year to year lease, I don't think
That's
that's strong enough for us to build
No.
something.
I agree.
So shall I I'm happy to go back to Lynn and say, actually, we don't want to have a look at new guys, we prefer the school.
Schools are well aimed.
Yes, cool, all right, I'll go back and do that, I'll put it on my list.
Thank you.
To Shade House, good.
I think it's more complicated the other way.
It really is, yeah, Tunnel House. Great. Excellent. Cool, thank you for that direction. Kim is not here, but can remain on, he was going to find out about the toilets at, Waitapu.
Oh, he slipped out.
He did, I should have been more onto it. I'll check in with him about it, he may
Yeah.
need me to pop it in an
Could
email
have an
for
update.
us. Chile for Robert Dick, yes, good, thank you, I'm off, that was done. Oh, no, actually, maybe leave it on, because it's only just
Yes.
4th of November, let's leave it on until it's actually completed.
What's that for?
There was the drainage out, along, what's it, Sunbelt Crescent there, where it pounds on the cycle
Oh, yeah.
path really badly every time it rains. Robert's going to put a drain in. Let's leave it till he does put the drain. in.
Yeah, do,
See.
yeah.
Yeah, the question I think was around the timing, when.
When, he said November. So let's just wait for in December.
Oh, he said November, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
And did we still have something on there around, oh, there was a request, wasn't there, about Birds Hill? Can we find out from
Yes, and you did.
ZTA? And we
We've
got
sent that
something.
around, yeah.
At the same time, you had something when you went to Joe about it.
Yeah, they said.
Completely, yeah, we're safe, we're all.
Work is on, it's
Yeah.
on schedule, but they don't know exactly when they're gonna do it.
Oh, and that's the next section as well.
Yes, it's
It's all good.
So it's funny that you had something in the weekly and we just got this response from NZTA. And I thought,
Yeah.
you don't want that response, but.
Yeah.
In the ether.
Yeah, comms are working.
So that ends our action.
And I posted that on my Facebook page.
Oh, now I need to, we need to move
Save the humps on the set.
we need to move that, don't we? And then we go into the discretionary fund. I'm happy to move that the board report be accepted.
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
Great, all those in favour? Lovely. So we need resolutions?
Through the chair, you do actually need to just confirm the wording for this to approve the funding to the high school sponsorship requests.
Oh, okay.
Because
Can we-
they are included in that.
I thought just by moving it. I just, okay, sorry. Go back, let me go back.
So it's all there, it just is approves / declines a sponsorship of amount. So
Approves $100. Is that right?
yeah, so approves $100 from the Golden Bay Community Board discretionary fund to Te Kura o Aorere Collingwood Area School for their 2024 senior prize giving ceremony. And approves sponsorship of $100 from the Golden Bay Community Board discretionary fund to Te Wakapura o Mohua Golden Bay High School for their 2024 senior prize
Lovely.
giving ceremony.
Happy to move that.
I was-
Second. Favours?
Yeah.
Lovely. Oh, that's good.
I just on the school, just on the school end of year event, Celia and I have been invited again to the Golden Bay High School one. Nothing's come through from CAS, but I just wondered if anyone here had been
I
invited.
haven't
to
seen
attend
anything, I've been invited to the high school one, the area. Goodness me, Golden Bay High, but nothing from Cas yet.
The communication we've had from CAS has been this one here
Well, is that a,
is the only thing that we've received.
Yeah.
But it was Collingwood Area School warmly welcomes you to take part in our annual celebrations.
yes, the blanket.
They're all
Yeah.
invited.
Yeah.
Who's going? Not is anyone going? Who is going to attend?
When is it? I can go.
The 13th of December. Yeah.
Oh, it's a new great. And You're going to the high school, the Golden Bay. Are
Oh, yes, I've got.
you going to the high school one?
I might be
Yeah.
away, I'm not sure. That's anyone else from the TV board going?
I'll be going anyway.
You're going anyway.
Fine.
Right.
One kid, yeah.
She must
You
be,
could-
must
you
be
could-
your last year.
Year 12 is just.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Some,
So,
so that's on the ninth, one of our high schools on the ninth, 7.
Yes.
What time on it, Jess?
They do give a time.
I think that's what, I think on the email it says 7.
So you're
Seven,
going,
that
you're
seems
going
a
to
bit
both?
late.
Is that what you-
It's all right, yeah.
Do you mind doing that or?
Oh, it's good.
All right. Oh, good, no, good,
Yeah.
good question, Chris, thank you. The discretionary fund report, so there's one request here from the Golden Bay. Looking to purchase another removable basket. So that they can expand their force.
I would like to support it, but I'd also like to support it a little bit larger when they've got a bit more of a established area to do it. Because at the moment, it's a bit wishy-washy. I'm happy to support it then.
I know they've been looking for grants. and
Can
spending
we
those
just put it off and tell them that, you know, they can come back to us? That's why I thought they can come back to us once they've got a more established place to do it. And maybe they could even ask for more than one.
It's proving difficult to find, for them to find a spot, so there's been quite a bit of correspondence from Alexis.
Yeah.
And reserve staff, and I think I forwarded you the emails that I was involved in, just so you know about those things. So the suggestion of the old watertight dump site. Question about the capping and testing of it.
Yes.
I was so surprised because I feel like I asked questions early on in my first term, I think, around, and I thought I was given the assurance that cap was thick enough and it was safe enough and that. But what's happening now is a lot more stuff's being put on through it being a site for perhaps Fulton Hogan or.
Oh, the categories of soil.
Well,
some of the soil.
It's an area where there's a disposal area sort of extra, whatever. Anyway, I think that they are functioning quite well. Like I think they've set up a formal organisation, and I think that there's people turning up and doing that. So I'm inclined to support one, even though it's one basket, because it's they're looking for support.
Yeah, I'd like to support it too.
And it just means they just take it wherever they go when this land gets.
Because they're up at the rec centre at the moment, aren't they?
Rec Park.
They're in the
Park,
yeah,
yeah. So I'm supportive of the.
Yeah,
buying another.
But it may take some time before they.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the ones they're buying now, they can use.
Yeah.
When they set up their permanent course, so
Yeah.
it's sort of.
Okay.
The chickens,
Yeah.
business.
Robert, would you say this?
Yeah, I'm supportive of it. I mean, they've applied, they're on them. We've got their funds. And it's that's within the criteria, so. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, all right. So I'm happy to move that. Scrolling. I'm happy to move that we grant them their money. Are we granting them for, they say 438? Yep. Is that right? I'm happy to move that. Do we have a second?
38.50.
Oh, so you can just.
They have applied for 500.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 500.
Oh, that's right. And then we
And they were
need
gonna
the
use
rest
the
of
rest of
flyers
flyers
and
and
advertising.
advertising.
Okay, yeah, all right, sorry. I'll retract my move and I'll say 500. Do we have a second? Yep, second by Henry, all those in favour?
Aye.
Lovely, carried. Good Lord, I'm still scrolling through.
Yes, you are.
Oh, my Lord.
They sent the whole charitable trust to us, didn't they?
Yes. Right, the financial report, Robert, you noticed an anomaly.
Well, it appears on the discretionary fund report, we've given out $2,500 but on the financial report, it's only recorded 1,000. And even if it was timing or payment has not yet been made, which would be odd on an August one, I would have still thought it would be reported in here because the intention is it will be paid out. So I didn't understand. And I note at the bottom of the report, it refers to the 31st of September, which is a non-existent date.
Oh, spotted.
Oh,
You win.
yes, indeed.
So yeah, it's got total expenditure to the 31st of September.
Yes. But on the discretionary fund, we're giving out 2,500, which doesn't
Okay.
make sense.
So, yeah.
I am wondering. The board met on the 1st of July and approved 2 applications on the 1st of July. Which was the first day of the new financial year, but they may
Yes.
have been rolled into previous year.
Okay.
Would that answer that?
Possibly,
I
yes.
think you win now, Jess.
But that shouldn't.
So just if it was
Shouldn't happen like
approved
that.
on the 1st of July. would have thought-
No, but I didn't muck around
Yeah,
requesting them from the creditors team. I'm
yes,
fairly sure the payments went through within 24 hours of that meeting.
okay. Well, I guess that's where
But-
we need to make sure they match up.
Yeah,
Because on the discretionary fund report, it says 24, 25 a
thank
year,
you.
but the financial report is different.
I would go with the financial report because that was the accountant team that put that together.
Okay, can we ask that question though? I mean, to find out?
Well, I think it would be good to get clarification.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So we can
Can-
update our discretionary fund report.
Can we leave that with you, Kevin? Is that something for, thank you. Excellent. Fantastic, so. We probably need to, do we need to accept the financial report with those questions?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so Robert will move that, I'll have a second, all those. Favors? Lovely. And that brings us, that brings us to the end. For closing current care, Chris, do you mind if I pass to you for
Sure.
closing current care?
Kara ki tātou, tāwhiri mai ka horo o te tae mai a papa tō nuku i tātou nei. Kia rangi nui e tū iho nei, tū te ki whakamao ki Tina hui e tai.
Thanks, Chris. Shall we set a time for meeting to discuss the New Zealand Post submission?
Will we do that in our catch?
Yeah, well, we could do that both now, couldn't we?
What's that for?
You wanted to do the submission to New Zealand Post? And we can do our catch up?